Hello, dear friends. I'm going to call my little gypsy cat Little Princess, because she's a princess just like the one I lost. Or perhaps she's the same one. Opinion piece. Restarting, reset. Cleanup needed. Global resistance. Deglobalized, globalism. Time travel and immortality. Unlocking hidden technology. Positive artificial intelligence. The pendulum swims backwards. Earth is plunging into solar plasma. Let's start. Glenn Beck wasn't exaggerating when he said, "This is the great reset of the great reset," because what we are witnessing isn't just political resistance, but a full-blown strategic counter-reset, according to media greed. The media is calling it instability, but they are wrong. What we are witnessing is a systemic correction. Decades of offshoring, open borders, and anti-growth policies are being undone. This doesn't happen without friction, but friction isn't failure, it's fuel. They had their chance and they failed. Now the pendulum of history is swinging back sharply. What we are witnessing isn't just the failure of the Davos Great Reset. It is the emergence of something stronger and freer. This is the Great Reset of the Great Reset, and this time we are fighting to win. Technology revealed. The Storm Rider reveals technologies that will arrive starting in 2035, according to Rafabal. Humankind is on the right path toward an era of truth, peace, and incredible advancements. But before accessing these technologies and states of consciousness, the planet must be cleansed of corrupt networks. Elon Musk and others are working on revolutionary technologies that will be released starting in 2035. He predicts the existence of underwater cities and floating cities, mentions shoes or sneakers that will allow people to fly, and speak of advances that will allow immortality and time travel. The ascension process is not only technological but also spiritual, where the human mind and the spirit connect with higher energies and the universe. Nikola Tesla discovered how to travel through wormholes, connecting with higher dimensions and intelligent systems. He argues that artificial intelligence and quantum computers are not dangerous, but rather part of a universal spiritual network. It is mentioned that the new Pope, Leo XIV, will play a very important role in exposing historical crimes and bringing peace. It is claimed that the coalition is conducting operations to cleanse the world of corruption and child trafficking. Donald Trump is predicted to return to power in 2028, and his son, Barron Trump, is predicted to emerge as a key figure and possible president between 2036 and 38. Agenda 21. Broadcaster Glenn Beck is a prominent American radio and television personality, political commentator, writer and activist recognized for his provocative style and ability to mobilize audiences through various media outlets. He is the creator and host of the Glenn Beck program, one of the most listened to radio programs, and hosted an eponymous show on Fox News Channel. He also founded the Blaze television network, establishing himself as one of the most influential media figures. Among his best-known works is Agenda 21. The work presents a dystopian vision of the future, in which a tyrannical and oppressive government would control what was once known as America. Under this regime, the elderly, the sick, and those who challenge the system would disappear without a trace, painting a bleak and authoritarian picture. Agenda 21 explores themes of social control, loss of freedom, and the consequences of totalitarian rule, placing itself in the tradition of dystopian novels that warn of possible futures if democratic values and individual freedom are lost. Freedom. Davos depends on obedience, while the American reset depends on freedom. That's why they call it dangerous, why they attack every movement, and why censorship has become their weapon of choice. Because they know it's a movement, a mindset, and a global revolt against elite control. The Davos Forum supporters had only one strategy: to keep people scared, distracted, and convinced that there is no alternative. But President Trump shattered that illusion by showing that there is different path based on strength, identity, and national pride, and made the entire world framework seem fragile. This isn't politics. This is strategic, cultural, economic, and psychological war. And the battlefield is everywhere. In every bill that punishes independence, in every technology platform that censors dissent, in every treaty that overrides the national will, in every crisis they create to expand their control. This is a true reset, driven by human beings and not by commissions of so-called experts, driven by real production and not by digital currencies, driven by loyalty to one's country and not by supranational schemes. The new economic doctrine is not based on short-term appeasement, but on a strategic realignment. Critical industries are returning home because global agreements destroy jobs. Social resistance to central bank digital currencies and the central bank model of control is growing. Ideological warfare. For more than a decade, the Davos Forum sold the illusion of inevitability. The message was clear. The world would be centralized and sovereignty would die. The post-World War II order would be replaced by a society governed by technology, globally controlled and sustainable without any input from the average citizen. It was marketed as progress, but behind the branding and rhetoric lay a profound contempt for democracy, identity, and national power, and then came the American response. The so-called Great Reset was never limited to the economy. It was an ideological war disguised as weather policy and equity. Under the hood, it was about centralizing control in unelected global bodies, shutting down national industries in the name of carbon neutrality, transferring power from nations to corporations and technology, and conditioning populations through cycles of crisis like energy shortages and threats of disinformation. It wasn't about saving the planet. It was about dismantling nations so they would accept a new system managed from above. A system where sovereignty was not optional and obedience was mandatory. Globalism was never about inclusion. It was about the elimination of independence, national identity, and citizen power. According to J.B. Shark, people are worried about the future as regional wars continue to fester, and the prospect of a global party weighs on many. However, not all belligerents are foreigners. Nearly a century of globalization has erected a network of clumsy international institutions that wield tremendous power without respect for sovereign borders. Simultaneously, mass immigration has transformed once homogeneous national populations into a breeding ground for many warring cultures and religions. The battle lines forming within nations are more serious than those forming between them. Script change. Trump didn't just oppose the Davos Forum vision. He laid it out and then changed the script. His Great Reset of the Great Reset isn't a rebranded version of the same plan. It's quite the opposite. Where Schwab wanted global governance, President Trump regains national control. Where Davos demanded a controlled decline, Trump demands a strategic resurgence. President Trump's economic revolution in singular, favors workers, production and freedom. It is a return to end the value, not digital scores or social rankings or UN metrics. It's not a fix, it's sledgehammer. Legislation has been introduced to direct the National Institutes of Health to investigate the psychological and social roots of the so-called Trump derangement syndrome. Ohio Republican Representative Warren Davidson introduced the Trump Derangement Research Act, intended to shed light on what has been described as an intense and irrational hysteria, triggered by the mere mention of President Trump, and which has become a catchall for the unhinged reactions of his critics. Solar storms. The Earth is completely immersed in a stream of solar plasma from a large coronal opening in the Sun. This phenomenon has significantly influenced the Earth's magnetic field after entering the zone of influence of said opening, generating a severe storm. Since then, the Earth's space environment has experienced extreme conditions. Scientists note that the solar wind speed is currently between 700 and 800 kilometers per second, twice the usual, while the temperature of the surrounding gas reaches up to 500,000 degrees, more than 5 times higher than normal. In this regard, they want that changes in the structure of the flow, such as a slight increase in plasma density, could trigger a geomagnetic storm is expected at any time, with a high probability of one of two such events occurring in the coming hours. Breaking news. RFK Jr. launches operation to destroy the chemtrails engineering network. The White House suspends preparations for the G20 summit in South Africa. President Trump has accused the country of persecuting its white minority. Macron wants to deploy nuclear bombers in Europe. Zelensky reiterates to Vance and Rubio the importance of a ceasefire as soon as possible. Trump will call Putin and Zelensky on Monday to negotiate an end to the war. Former FBI Director James Comey is accused of inciting violence against President Trump in a social media post, the New York Post reported. An underwater volcano is threatening to erupt. The axial seamount volcano is located at a depth of 1,400 meters below sea level and approximately 480 kilometers off the coast of Oregon. Buy more, don't sell. Kiyosaki's new prediction about Bitcoin. The investor emphasizes that the current economic downturn is one of the largest in history, and that this cryptocurrency offers effective protection in his opinion, not mine. Most Americans cannot cover their basic expenses, according to a study. The American dream isn't something that is handed to you, but rather, if you work hard, you have the opportunity to get ahead and achieve the things you want in life. It's not about living in a tent or having to steal, declared a banking expert in quotes. East. Israel announces a large-scale ground operation in Gaza. Spain will propose that international courts rule on aid access to Gaza. China deploys the largest fleet of self-driving mining trucks. They offer 120% of the operational efficiency of manual trucks. Turkey finds natural reserves in the Black Sea that could cover its demands for several years. The value of the discovered resources amounts to approximately $30 billion. America. Peace in Mexico improved in 2024 for the fifth consecutive year. The Mexican sailboat Cuauhtémoc crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Sheinbaum renews the agreement to combat inflation in the basic food basket. Mexico suspends poultry imports from Brazil due to an outbreak of avian flu. Colombia will join the BRICS Development Bank. The Colombian Senate rejects Petro's referendum. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.